All right. Should we tell a little story about this one?
Yeah, do you want us to tell a story about now?
Yeah.
So Matt and I wrote this song, and then this summer we went on a tour, and we went along the West Coast. We just drove from Seattle down to San Diego. And while we were there, one of the stops we made was in Carmel Valley where his aunt lives, and we were just kind of taking a couple days off. And while we were there, she took us around Big Sur and like did all this scenic stuff. And then she's like, "Oh, I'm taking you to my work." Well, she works at a men's rehab facility, inpatient treatment facility, and she said, "Would you guys sing?" Matt and I were both like, never sang for those, in that kind of environment before. So we're like, sure. So we got up there and we sang probably 5 or 6 songs. And through the course of singing those songs, we kind of started realizing in this population of people how our songs could take on a completely different meaning. This song in particular, and a lot of the people after we played came up and mentioned this song. It's called Give Up the Ghost. I wrote it from a perspective of moving on from a bad relationship, but it's so cool when you get with music and you can figure out the power of interpretation and how people can take it for something completely different. And for these people who are struggling with addiction, that was their ghost, and that was what they were giving up. And it was really cool because Matt and I really never thought about it that way, and also never really thought of our songs as being uplifting or positive in any way, because a lot of them are kind of depressing. But that just goes to show you when someone else listens to the song how they can interpret it a totally different way. And so that's just become a really cool part of this song. And we're actually really excited because we're going to be recording this song and that last song in December when we get back from tour. So this is Give Up the Ghost.
Take all your stories, your cigarettes, and go. I have no use for them anymore. You said what you needed, now be on your way. No sense making small talk, I don't plan to stay. Drift on and away. Drift on and away. Hey, I'll pick up the pieces and put down the knife. I only need good things in life. Choosing my battles and this what I've lost. So much love, no matter the cost. I drift on and away. I drift on and away. Hey, you expected me to always be the one he needs so you could feel better. And through all your rage, you always say that it would change if we stayed together. But it never was, it's only worse, and we end up hating each other. Give up this demon, I give up this ghost. No longer will you be the one I love.
So one of the things we heard about was like, I know you guys weren't always from Seattle, and like, can you talk about like the idea of moving and like starting over again in a new place, and like the challenges and the risks that you took in doing that, and how that relates to your music?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love talking about that stuff.
You go first, and then I'll go.
Okay. Yeah, so I moved to Seattle last May, so about a year and a half ago, from Chicago, where I'd lived for 4 years after college and where I played in a band with people since college. And so it was this huge shift, not only just in distance, but I wasn't sure. I didn't know anyone who did music in Seattle. I wasn't sure how I was going to connect to things. And just through kind of preparing for that trip and talking to people and talking about people about what I wanted to do and what my goals were, I don't remember whose idea it was. I think it was a kind of a collaborative idea, is I started a music blog. And I was like, okay, well, if I don't want to like start a band right away, and I love having conversations with other musicians, I kind of finally started becoming friends with a bunch of other bands in Chicago, and I was really sad to be leaving that. So I started this music blog, and I started doing interviews with other bands and talking about the experiences of being a musician. So it wasn't the kind of like, you know, what are your songs about? It was like, what's it like being a musician right now in Chicago, and what are the struggles, and what are the things that are really encouraging, and what's it like to be in a community in Chicago, and things like that. So I was very community oriented when I got to Seattle, and just happened to find something that was already growing and something that was already really vibrant. And I know like the Head and the Heart was the first classroom session here, and in the last couple of years around them, around some other bands that have come through here, there's really this this sense of community there. And so it's not just in Chicago, it felt like everything was very isolated. It was kind of each band, kind of us against the world in our van. Oh God. And in Seattle, what we were able to find and what we kind of started tapping into once we started playing together was more of a network. A lot of people just hanging out and playing music. A lot of people collaborating, people in multiple bands. And so that's something that I had craved in Chicago and had trouble finding. And so I feel like that community piece is just like, we've made so many good friends around our music in the last year. And that community piece is so important. If you're going to jump off and just go to a new place, start over, you have to find that community, or you have to build it. And it takes a lot of patience, and it's really hard and frightening. But in every place there's community leaders, and to the extent that those leaders are effective and are putting energy into building community, it can really thrive. And so if those leaders aren't there where you are, you have to be that. And put energy into things that you believe in, put energy into things that inspire you, and find ways to document them. Find ways to be able to share those things outside of that community. And that's been the most amazing thing about Seattle right now, where it's like, I mean, here we are in Lawrence, Kansas, thousands of miles away, and kind of talking with Jeff, and the story of kind of how we all got to this place has to do with some community leaders in Seattle who started documenting the things that they loved happening there, and started creating these artistic pieces that could be shared virally, and could get out there and inspire other people. And that's why we're here. Just all these connections of inspiration and a lot of work to communicate those inspirations.